Let me ask you a question. Do you believe you can be successful, make money, and at the same time have a positive impact on the world? You might think it's impossible, but in this podcast, we will meet someone who shows you that you can. Harris Pogust has built very successful positive impact businesses at scale and in a short time frame. He's an internationally recognized trial lawyer, an extraordinary business builder, a philanthropist, and someone who genuinely cares about justice, bringing hope, and making the world better. His law firms have taken some of the world's largest corporations to court, holding them accountable for damaging the environment and damaging people's lives. In this podcast, he shares what it takes to be a leader and grow a large, successful, positive impact business. And towards the end, he gets into what really drives him, what success really means to him, and how we can all make the world a better place.
Hey Harris, good to see you
Hi,
again.
Michael.
How you doing?
I'm doing well.
I'm going to get straight into this. So, a lot of people believe there's a trade-off between making money and making a positive difference in the world. And you've spent much of your career building organizations that have helped millions of people while also creating significant commercial success. So my first question is like, how do you build a successful business and do good in the world at the same time?
Look, you have to do what's in your soul and what you believe is right. Look, you always come to crossroads in your business where if I do this, if I make the right turn, I can make a whole lot more money, but it's probably not the right thing to do because it's not the right thing to do. And are you willing to make less money and do the right thing? And look, it's only so much money you can make during your lifetime and spend during a lifetime. Whether it's what, 10 million, 20 million, 30 million, whatever it is. And you want to take care of your family and take care of your friends and take care of the world, but you don't need some people it's a game of like Monopoly. How much money can I put in the bank? No, regardless of who I hurt and what I do, and if I hurt the planet or what else, because they need to impress others. And as we were just talking before we went on, like unfortunately, the people in charge of the government, specifically here, have made it normalized being bad conduct. To do anything to get ahead and make more money. Anything is acceptable. There's no such thing as bad because there's no consequences to the bad acts. There has to be consequences, right? I
Mm,
know, or there's moral consequences in your head that, do you think it's the right thing? But I guess these people don't have that compass to steer them in the right direction. And yes, it's to answer the question short, yeah, it's definitely possible. I know a ton of people who are great people and they make a lot of money. Yeah.
what have you learned about balancing purpose, impact, and profitability?
I think actually, for me, it went hand in hand because the better I did in the business, the more I could do outside of the business and help people. We help people as lawyers because that's what we do. We represent people who are injured or environmental damages or human rights. And, luckily we've done well, but it allowed me to set up a foundation to build a school in Africa. But that has nothing to do with the law. But, since we did
Yeah.
well in business, we could do other things outside of the business, which benefited, people who need it a lot more than, we do.
Mm. Why do
These
you think
people don't
like
have, yeah, that.
why do you think people have this thing in their head where it's like I can only do good or make money? There seems
I
to be
don't.
that thing in a lot of people's heads.
Yeah. I don't, I think, I, luckily the people I hang out with don't think that way. Right? I don't hang out with those people. Uh, you know, yeah, I think that people that you hang out with people that are like-minded. So the people I hang out with, they need to make a living and pay for their kids' education and do this, but not doing bad things to do it.
Mm.
I guess but it's not mutual. You could be a good person and make more money than somebody who's doing it and has bad intentions and bad heart or just doesn't give a shit about anybody else.
Yeah,
Ultimately,
and I
as you said,
think
it comes around to bite you in the butt. I'm more, I don't want to walk down the street and everybody's looking at you saying, this guy's the biggest jerk off of the world. I don't, you don't want that. You don't embarrass your kids and family and like, so it's not all about making money. It's a balance about feeling, be able to put your head on the pillow at night and it's like, all right, we did good today. Right.
yeah.
And we can eat. We have a nice house and the roof over our head. So it's good. The world's good, at least in this
Yeah.
world.
It's interesting for me because like my background was advertising. And a lot of times, we were basically creating demand for things that people didn't need and
Yeah.
getting people into debt so they could buy things to make themselves feel better, but ultimately it didn't make them feel better. It was
Yeah.
just something like an imaginary feel better that advertising had created.
Yeah.
And for me, working on projects that are doing good in the world, what you guys were doing really made me realize like there are good people in the world, and like we can do advertising and marketing for positive impact, not necessarily a bad impact, like most
Yeah.
traditional advertising is.
Look, our business is to punish the bad actors and to help the people who don't have the voice. That's what we do, right? So, you know, if you do it well, you make money and you're helping people, right? So,
Yeah.
you know, it's a win-win.
Can you like share any examples of where doing the right thing actually created more value, not less?
Yeah, and it may not be value, it may be just helping somebody. Like, we did a lot of cases against the pharmaceutical industry for mislabeling their drugs and selling it to people, and people get injured. And if they would have known that this drug would have harmed me or my kids or somebody else, I would never, have allowed him to take it. But we've had multiple times where we've been able to. A whistleblower came out. He used to work at Pfizer, and he comes out and says they're kind of fibbing about what they're putting on the label, and this really does cause bad stuff to women who are pregnant and take it or something like that. So if we can stop that conduct and we put a we call a black box warning on the label, we save a lot of hardship. You know, Especially when we first started, we were doing the antidepressants and children because the children, people under 18 weren't supposed to take it, and the drug companies were pushing it on them because it wasn't. And they had basically lied about the clinical trial data, so the FDA didn't know that, this shouldn't be. And we uncovered the documents. This was back before computers, by the way, when we would walk into a warehouse. We ask for documents, and you walk into a warehouse of 10 million documents, and I take box off the wall and look at every piece of paper. So this was the good old days. But yeah, so we did good there. Unfortunately, there were a lot of kids who died because of it. And the parents come to you for help, and and all you can do is get them money and make a change. And, you know, obviously they want their child back, but they also don't want it to happen to some other family too. That's their main point at that point, is I don't want what I'm going through to happen to, my neighbor's kids or my neighbor's family because it's horrific. So,
It's really interesting that you said that because when I was like growing up in advertising and branding, we worked on a project for a pharmaceutical company. I won't name the name, but they were doing hy- hyperactive drugs for children and ADHD, those kind of things back when it was just a brand new thing. And I
yeah,
read the label and I was shocked at what was in those drugs. I was genuinely shocked. I wouldn't give them to adults and they were
no,
giving them to children. And something in me woke up. I realized like a lot of these corporates, like this, they must know what they're doing and yet they
of course they
still
do.
do it.
Oh,
And
you
it was
saw the
really shocked.
opioid. Did you ever watch those opioid documentaries? I mean, these guys are like, that's evil right there. All right.
Yeah.
They're like, they want people to get addicted so they can make more money. That is the opposite side of what I do. Like they're like, that's
Yeah.
evil here. And, I'm hopefully in the middle. I know there's people over here who just want to do good, but the businesses do not sustain because you also have to make money to. So, you know, if you don't make money, you can't do the good, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You have
And
to
that's
be
what that's what
you have to be in that middle area where you can make enough that you're happy and can and benefit. It's like the foundation we started. We can help people. So
yeah.
that's the
That's
sweet
what
spot.
shocked me. Like the drugs had addictive chemicals in there.
Oh yeah, it's
It was
horrible.
obvious like why they were putting them in. And at the time I didn't really know what to do about it because I didn't know that people like you guys existed who were taking on these people. But it was a
Yeah,
shock to me, the big corporates can get away with this kind of thing.
yeah. I've been in touch with a girl on Instagram. I've been doing this for 25 years. Like the SSRIs, the antidepressants, trying to get off of those things once you're on them is could depending on your your mechanism, the way your body works, but it's horrific. I mean, and she started a campaign to get the word out, and the word has been out for a long time, but still going on, it's horrible. Man, she's literally like shaving the pills down to wean off of it, like with the razor blade, over months and months and months, and the side effects of withdrawal are worse than the disease sometimes.
Yeah, yeah. So for
So
people who don't know, like this is what Harris is involved in, actually taking these companies to court and holding them account for these tragedies. And I remember once we were in the UK at I think it was a Primodos meeting, wasn't it? And
yeah,
just it's seeing the people and the lives being affected by these drugs and the fact that the companies often get away with it, it is genuinely shocking. And I think what's really beautiful is the work that you do gives people hope.
yeah,
That you do
that was a great,
hope.
yeah, that meeting was a good one because yeah, these people were really damaged and had no hope, and we try to give them hope, and they come up and you bond with them, just they give you hugs and you hug them back and say, we're going to try as hard as we can to help you. You can't always help. That case was a tough one because it happened so long ago. This was like in the 60s, and we're trying to bring a lawsuit 50 years later. It's not the easiest thing. But in like Mariana, the dam disaster in Brazil, like I went down there and the town Mariana was just taken off the map by this dam disaster and the sludge and the toxic sludge. And when I went down to ground zero, and there's still people who came back every weekend because they wanted that sense of community and see everybody. There's nothing there. There's like a shell of their house maybe. And they would just sit with you for an hour, 2 hours, and just they want to talk about, remember what it was like because you can't tell from what was there left. And you give them hope,
Mm.
we're going to hopefully be able to build you a new house, and the defender, the person responsible, mining company will have to step up, even though it's a battle. I mean, these are multi-billion dollar, you know, corporations, multinationals, and we have to go out and get money to fight them. So yeah, it's a war.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about that for a minute? Because that was like the biggest case ever in the UK High Court, wasn't it? And that really was like a David and Goliath situation where you were up against this huge organization. And it was such a long case as well.
Yeah, it's been going on for a long time. So yeah, that's how I met Tom Goodhead, my former partner who I still speak with. But Tom just found me because I was doing what we call in the States mass torts, which is where you represent maybe thousands and thousands of people against a, a bad actor. Okay. And the cases kind of go in a herd down the road. So you don't have 10,000 cases in 10,000 different courts, and it's not efficient for judges to do it. And Tom was a barrister. He had never done it. The English system is a bit more conservative. So if a firm has 100 XYZ cases, they think they have a ton. In the States, if you have 50,000, you're doing well. So he got to us somehow, and he needed to sign up, was it 2,000 people to get a funder to give him $2 million, I think, £2 million to start this case. So we looked at it, and, you know, it looked like a great, interesting case. I had done environmental litigation before. And so we said, yeah, let's do it. And then before you know it, we were up to 200,000 people. And then when they came to trial last year, it was 600,000 people. It was, people who just lost everything. And the Catholic Church and indigenous tribes who lived along the Amazon who couldn't fish or swim or eat or do anything because the water was so contaminated. And, all these municipalities who just went bankrupt because nobody could live there and pay the taxes, and they couldn't run the water, all that type of thing. And it was clear as day that the defendant was responsible. I mean, 2 years later, another dam broke, and that one, the dam was inspected by this top German mining inspector who told the company that it's probably not safe. I wouldn't be running this. And the word is, they said, if you don't give us the okay, we're never going to use it again. So all of a sudden, the stamp of approval came, and then within a short time after that, that dam broke and killed a lot of people. So that's where you see profit over doing what's right. Like, to tell you the truth, the only way to stop that stuff is to put these people in jail. Finding these people means nothing. Finding
Mm.
the head of, whatever it is, major gas company, a major oil company, a major pharmacy is not going to do. You can find them $100 million. It's not going to make a difference in anybody's life there. But to
Mm.
put the president in jail, trust me, that'll make the difference.
Yeah, it's actually really interesting. I was watching a Netflix series about Bernie Madoff and the
Yeah,
financial
I've seen them
crisis.
all.
Yeah, and it was really only him and maybe a couple of others who went to jail. Like most of the companies got off, and they maybe got a little slap on the hand and a fine. But like you say, like it needs to
Yeah,
change, I guess, doesn't it? Accountability needs to be even stronger.
yeah, that's yes, people do not want to go to jail. That was if they did, but unfortunately, the people who make the rules and the laws are their cronies. So
Mm,
it'll never happen, or they'll give them a pardon within, that's how they can do it here in the States. The president can pardon anybody who gets, put in jail because of a federal crime. You can't do it for state court crimes, but it's horrible. The system's broke. The system's just, we need to go to another planet, Michael, and start this world we're talking about. We need
Well,
to start from
let's come back to systems in the future in a minute. I wanted to just shift gears a second and talk about um, building
scratch.
at scale, because you've built big companies here. So, like when you reflect on the organizations, the teams, and even the movements that you've helped create, what do you think are the most important ingredients that allowed them to scale so well? Was it your vision, persistence, relationships, culture,
Uh,
timing, something completely different? Like, what do you think made them
well,
scale so well?
yeah. You have to have patience, number one. You can't expect like you're going to become rich tomorrow and your business is going to. Some they do. Who knows? They go TikTok and then they become viral and then the next thing. Or they go on whatever the show is where the people don't, um, give them money to start their business,
Shark
whatever.
Tank, yeah.
Yeah, Shark Tank. But I think one of the mistakes we made was when I wasn't in London was we grew too fast. But we were so excited there was so many bad things going on in the world, and people
Mm,
wanted to give us money to do it. But you have to be able to have the backup. You have to be able to do it and do it
mm,
efficiently and not waste money. There's a balance between your budget. You have to walk before you run, right? Maybe you can jog a little bit at the beginning if you want, but don't start like if you start sprinting in the marathon, you're going to die, at mile 15.
yeah.
Um, so you want to take it as quickly as possible. The other way to do it is to go out and get help by raising money from other sources, you know, and therefore you're not on the hook for it. You're not on the hook for it. You're not taking the risk personally, and you have to be a good sale. Look, like anything else, you just have to be a good salesman. But if you're speaking from the heart and just they looking, I just look people in the eye. I can kind of tell whether they're people I want to work with or they're good people. I can tell somebody's lying in this pretty much in a second. Make me
Yeah.
throw up, and I don't ever work with this guy, even though he's offering me, $100 million or whatever it may be. No, thank you, because I know down the road it's going to come back, and some things aren't worth $1 billion if it goes south.
Mm.
So yeah, you just have to have the vision. You have to look 5 steps ahead. Always, I mean, some people like to look one step ahead. They don't realize that the road is out down the road. It's washed out. And I'm going to go over the cliff if I keep going. You need to like if I do this, it's like chess, right? It's exactly like chess. If I do this, what the third move ahead, what's going to happen? Some people look one move ahead, they win, and they win some in court emotion, and they jump up and down like, you know what you just did? Like they're setting you up for to crush you.
Mm.
Yeah. So you have to be able to be patient, look ahead, have your budgets, make sure you're not spending more than you want, and then you make money, and then you can do with once you have to be patient. Look, I'm 60, dude, and I may not look it, but you know, especially in this generation, I think people want everything like this, everything.
Yeah.
It
Get
was,
rich quick. Yeah.
yeah, like we didn't have computers when I was a young lawyer. We sent a letter. It took a week to do what you do in 5 minutes. You send a letter out, I dictate the letter, it goes to the secretary. She sends it back to me. I edit it again. It goes back, then it gets sent in the mail. It's literally 2 weeks to get a letter back and forth. Here, it's what, 5 seconds? So things are moving so fast, sometimes too fast for people's good.
Yeah.
You don't have time to think, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
What role would you say people and relationships played? Because one thing I noticed is, you know, a lot of people really liked working for you, you know, and I thought you were really good at developing relationships. Do you think that's a key skill for scaling a business?
Yeah, yeah. Both inside the business and outside the business, right?
Mm,
Yeah. I would go over to London, what, 1 week a month. And the first thing I told Alicia or whoever was in the office, I need 10 associates I want to sit with. Just pick 10 and put them, slot them in. And I want to sit with them for 15 minutes each and just talk to them. You know,
mm.
I want to, because they're the ones who'll tell you the truth and they have, and not, how's work going? It doesn't go outside this room. You're not gonna get in trouble. Just tell me give me your true opinion on it. And that makes them feel like they're being heard and not just a widget in the system, you know. And I said, it's a great idea. Write something up. We'll talk about it. And so within the system, you have to talk, you can't be sitting in your golden office there and close the door and like Bernie had his 17th floor or whatever it was, and nobody else was allowed up to. But yeah, I'm a big, and I do it here in the States. I just go into the associates' offices. I just make the rounds in the morning. What's going on? What are you working on? Need help? Give them advice. Well, you're doing it this way. Maybe how about this? And then outside of it, I always found that, you're always better off with sugar than spice, right? Like that was my biggest, you have to get the trust of the defendant, the other side that you're working, because if you don't, things are going to move way slower. They may not move at all because they think you're lying to them and they're very, but knock on wood, I think I had the reputation of people. If I said something, that's what it was. And if they didn't want to do the deal, it's fine. I didn't lie to get it done because you're never going to get any more down the road. That's not the reason. I just couldn't do it. Like, but, you know, my
Yeah, one of the
conscience
things I
said,
noticed. Sorry, Karen.
no, no, no.
But one thing that I noticed when you came to the UK is you were doing a lot of collaborative initiatives. So like
Yeah.
getting lawyers to work together. And I don't think they were used to doing that before. That was felt like something quite
It's
new.
funny as shit. I didn't understand it. The reason I went to the UK is because when Tom and I sat down at the beginning, he was telling me how the system works. I'm like, that's 1975 here in the States. Like, buying Apple before like anybody knew it was going to be a big company. I'm like, this is crazy. Yeah, but then I went over and we were doing the Dieselgate cases and there were 10 firms on it. And the first year there were just two claimants firms fighting with each other. And I'm like, do you understand the defendant is the manufacturers, not us? Like, stop, stop. Like we didn't get any work done. And then I went to lunch with some other lawyers from some of the other firms. Or I went over to the office to introduce myself, and it was a lovely, great, nice meeting. And I said, let's go out to lunch and talk about other cases we can work together with. And crickets, I didn't hear a thing. I think they either thought I was stealing their lunch money or their wife. So, yeah, I'm like, and then I finally got on the phone call when we sued the 9 defendants in Dieselgate. I'm like, guys, this is not going to work if we do it the way you get to do it. We need to do it together. It's a fucking war here, and we need to get an army, right? And so we need to work together. And you don't need to be the king of every, land in the country. So you be the lead against Mercedes. We'll be the lead against Ford, but we'll all work together. We'll be second in Mercedes, and finally I think they got it and we're doing it. And we started an organization um, to basically represent the people and to make sure laws aren't enacted which would harm them. Like all the claimants, lawyers got together. I said, we have a association in the United States. It's called AAJ, American Association of Justice, where we lobby Congress to make sure that like this funding, the funding is a big issue here in the States. I don't know why. Well, I know why. The defendant doesn't want the claimants to be funded by third parties because it makes it harder for them to win. These cases cost tens of millions to try, and most people don't have that in their pocket to do it. So you have to go to a bank or some other source, and usually banks don't give us money because of the risk. It's either win or lose. So
Mm,
when you go in and ask for $20 million, well, what happens if you lose? I don't, it won't be good. Nobody's going to be happy.
interesting. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, yeah, people need to work together to get a whole lot more done and a whole lot faster. And I just was baffled by the fact that the claimants' lawyers were fighting with each other, distrusted each other.
Yeah.
Uh, it's,
I really believe that as we go forward, we have to think more about collaboration than competition.
yeah. with everything.
Yeah.
Even if it's not in the same business, if you're here and I'm here doing two different businesses, but ultimately they come together and some down the road, they're gonna, like, think about it,
Yeah. I
with
always find
this.
it weird, like
No.
in my world, like in agency world, it was always like we're on this side and the client is on that side, and we have to sort of like trick the client. And I always said, well, wait a minute, like we're in the same business together, like we're literally in bed together. Like, why would we do that? We're on the same team.
Yeah, you just be
So
honest with them and tell them if there's a difference of opinion, you tell them, look,
yeah,
I think you should do it this way. Look, you're the client, so you make the decision because you're paying me,
yeah,
but it's my reputation if the commercial goes to shit.
yeah. It's a joint effort, isn't it? And the collaboration for me works so much better than competition. Um,
100%. And you start thinking more and like it's more fluid and more ideas come out because you're not so tense and worried about him trying to throw,
yeah.
you know, over on you.
Yeah,
When
and the
you're worried
more
about
relaxed you
the
are, the more
person
creative you make.
you're worrying about how to defend against the person getting over on you. You're not thinking about how to make the product better or the world better or something better, right? You're spending too
Exactly,
much energy, negative energy right there.
exactly.
Yeah.
Let's move on to leadership. So many people want to create positive change, but for some reason few succeed, especially like at scale. So what qualities do you think matter most for leaders who want to build something meaningful and lasting?
Well, you have to allow the next level who's coming up to participate. You can't,
Mm,
being a leader doesn't mean that you're king, you know? It just means that you make the final decision because you're next on the line and you sign the documents that may hold you financially responsible.
mm,
But as long as you make everybody feel like they're part of the family, they'll love you and they'll follow you and it can't be bullshit. It has to be true. Like I'm not
mm,
saying lie to them to make you like tell them how it is. And if they're not, meant to be, then they're not meant to be with you, and they should go to work somewhere else. I mean, we have have a culture, and if people don't fit into the culture, then I'm sure there's a company that will. But if you're
mm.
fighting against me, if we're butting heads, and there has to be the leader, right? The final decision maker. You can't have you can't take the vote of, we had 600 employees at one time. I'm not going to take the vote of all six, but I'll send out a survey. Like, what do you think about this, that, and the other thing? How can we make this place better for you guys to make it, you spend more time at work than you do at home with your wife, right? Like,
Yeah.
so you have to enjoy it. It's not, I know it's called work for a reason. I mean, it's usually not a positive connotation, right? But if you can make it so that people are going, I'm going to work and they have a smile on their face instead of tears running down their face, they're going to they're going to work harder for you because they feel like they have an interest in it. Because when people
Well,
hear Pogust Goodhead, they want people to go, yeah, that's super cool you work there. Like, yeah,
yeah.
good, congrats on what you're doing. You're helping a ton of people. That's good shit. It's really good shit.
What one thing that I've noticed in my career, and I noticed in your organization as well, is if you have a purpose and your team are behind that purpose, it just feels a lot easier. Like things just move a lot more smoothly.
Yeah, but otherwise, if you're the opposite kind of place, the associates are just looking at how much money am I making.
Yeah.
A lot of our people come, we interview people just because I don't know how many just walked in the door saying, I heard what you're doing. I could work at this firm and make more money, but that's not what I'm about. I want to help people. I want to help these children in Africa who are getting it, being put to work in the fields with no shoes and no protective gear and planes are flying overhead, dropping chemicals on the fields to, kill the pests, but you're killing the people. Like, yeah, I want to do that with my life. Yeah.
Mm.
And you pay
If you
them
could,
well.
if you
There's one
could,
with the other.
sorry, Karen.
I'm just saying, you don't have, it's not necessarily mutually exclusive. You could do good stuff and make a lot of money together. You
Mm.
just can. I think the better you are doing it, the more money, and it's
When,
clean money. I call it, it's not dirty money. It's not like you're doing something that's totally against your conscience and your will and your upbringing and just to make a dollar. I don't know how it's not my DNA.
mm. When you're hiring people, do you look for that passion around a purpose, or are you just looking for skills?
Both. You don't want to have the passion. The guy's a moron or a dummy. You want to have the passion They have to be an independent thinker. So you ask them, tell me what, if you had the choice of, if you said I had a case, bring a case forward, tell me what the case would be. We used to do that. We definitely pushed the associates to. There was a box, I think. You write your idea down for a new case because we had lawyers from every country imaginable. And they spoke 20 different languages, and like we built. We went to Ghana to do the case for the cocoa industry. We couldn't do it just because they had set up the system so well that the fortress was impenetrable.
Mm,
But before I went, we said, I always do this before we go to a place. I said, I want to visit an orphanage and a hospital for kids. Because if you can't, when I went to Ghana, the chief of the tribe there came up to me and thanked me and said, I hope you're not like the 10 other lawyers who I never saw again. You know, because people, they know the problem. It's fixing it sometimes is not so easy or maybe impossible.
mm,
So we saw that this one's not good, but we can still help these people in another way. So came home and kept my wife and I was traumatized by the conditions because I can't imagine. But the kids were as happy as they don't know any different. These kids were smiling and running up to me and grabbing my legs, but they lived in a hut with 20 other people, a one room, a light bulb, and one mattress. But they weren't miserable because that's all they knew. But their schoolhouse was horrible. There was no walls and it was a dirt floor and books from 20 years ago. So we made it. I was sitting by my pool. I had PTSD literally from it. I was thinking about these people, and so I talked to Carrie about. I'm like, can we spend this much to build a school for these kids there? And we also put 50 people to work. It wasn't just the kids; it
mm.
was the community who was not working is out of work. So we did it, and it was it was better than winning a trial, I think, because I went to the opening. I was by Zoom, but one of the farmers named their child after me. Like it was craziness. But when I got the pictures and I just saw that they were now sitting at their own desk with new books that were appropriate for their age group, and one of them may be a lawyer. I said, if any of these kids ever want to, be a lawyer and go to law school, I will pay their way to law school. It's a long way for
Wow.
these kids to get there, but
Mm.
yeah. So you want people to reach their dream. You have to have something out there to strive for. If you have no hope, man, you got nothing.
Yeah, yeah. And I feel like, as a leader, that's something that came through in your organization, that you wanted people to succeed.
No, 100%. We had the great like that firm could have been if I say if I lived in England instead of the US, that firm would have been the best firm ever. It is hard to run a firm from across the
Mm,
Atlantic. So I'm not there every day. I don't see what's going on. I don't see what everybody's doing. And
mm,
if I did, it may have been a little different because I had been a lawyer for 30 years by then, and some of the other people higher up were 10 years out, and they had never worked at a law firm. It's definitely a science to maneuver everything, maneuver the money, and maneuver the people into the right cases that they're happy with, and then put them with the right people, especially when you have cultures that are so diverse. So if I say a word and whatever a word and to you may be an insult to this person in their country, like it was interesting. But it was great. It was 10 years or 8 years, whatever. It was the best experience I had until the
So
last.
you spent much of your life um, standing up for people who felt powerless. And what has that taught you about justice, accountability, how the systems need to evolve in the future? Because you've already mentioned, like, there's things wrong with the system. Um, how do you think it needs to evolve?
There's two things. Like we talked about, we need to have people in power for limited periods of time. It can't be a king for 70 years, They also have to raise their salaries, to tell you the truth, because the most brilliant people who can work in business for $1 million a year are asking to work in government for 50,000 pounds a year, whatever it may be. It's hard to get good people to do that. And now with social media, they just get abused. So you're making less money. People taking shots at you left and right. You're walking down the street, they're throwing tomatoes at you. Like social media has ruined every, like the
Mm.
world. I'm sorry to say, because morons have a platform to say stupid stuff, and it's hurtful. And I don't care who you are. Your skin's only so thick, and you know it's false, and you know it doesn't matter, but it does matter. You know.
Do you think there should be more legislation around social media? So, like, for example, in the UK, they're talking about not allowing children. Australia already have banned children on social media. Where I live in the UAE,
Yeah.
you can't say bad things about people on social media. It's against the law. So, do you think there should be more legislation?
But then they're going to say here in the States, freedom of speech, and we have the Constitution, you're allowed to do all this, that, and the other thing. I'm more concerned about just AI. It's freaking me out. Who doesn't like me in power is going to put me at the scene of a robbery. They're going to have my fingerprints there. They're going to have my photo there, like with a gun in my hand. And the things unfortunately, Carrie and I, my wife, have had horrible hacking situations for 3 years now.
Mm,
Horrible, beyond horrible. And I think it has to do with one of the cases we're working with, but she hasn't had a cell phone for 3 years because every time she buys a new one, it's the weirdest thing. Within half an hour, somebody is in it. They change passwords, they take stuff off, they put stuff on. And we've had everybody and their mother look at it. But the black hats are well ahead of the white hats in terms of knowledge and how to screw you over. And I flew one of our tech guys from London over to my house to try to fix it. People don't believe it. What's going on? Like, she has no computer, knows, and I'm proud of her that she hasn't lost her mind. That's how we live these days. Like, I couldn't work without it. IT, right? Without the cell phone and the computer, but it's going to come back to, I think, be the downfall of the society, to tell you the truth, ultimately. These movies we go to that show the future, they always come true, brother. We're gonna have
yeah,
robots in the
it's
street. Like it's gonna. I said this is the only time I'm not upset about being 60 is like I used to worry about that shit. Now I'm like, thank God I am. My grandkids, I hate to be in the world they're gonna live in. Because,
it's interesting. It is interesting. I mean, I've been doing a lot of research on this recently because as part of something we're doing called We Create Our Future, we're choosing topics to research around, well, what could the future be and what do we actually want the future to be? And it's really interesting for me what I'm realizing. And, I was at the Dubai Future Foundation yesterday, and there's a lot of sort of this is the technology, this is where it's going. What there isn't a lot of is this is what we want to be as humans, you know? So for me, I actually don't want a lot of technology. I want to reduce my access to technology, and technology just like helps me with some simple things in my life. I don't want to end up being the pet of AI. And there's
yeah,
a book that came out recently with I think it was like the 12 end games of AI, and none of them are very good. One of them is we end up like pets for AI.
yeah.
There is one good version where, AI creates abundance for everybody and we can just do what we want to do and AI does all the work. But the other scenarios aren't very good. And I'm just wondering, like, what are we trying to get to here? Like what
It's
is the
money.
idea
It's all
here?
about money. They'll use it. The bad people will use it to make money, and they can use it for bad intentions and make a lot of money. And it's a lot more harm it could cause. The harm is much worse than the good.
Mm. I guess on the
Yeah.
flip side, like we had nuclear weapons coming through in, the 50s, 60s, and we decided as a species that we were going to limit that. And maybe the same thing will happen with AI when it gets to a
I think
point
AI
where,
is more intertwined into the society. Nuclear weapons are a thing sitting in somewhere with it. This is just like it's like air,
yeah,
and so many people can touch it and feel. You can't. I can't touch the button to let to the nuke fly,
that's
but
true.
really nasty people can touch AI and use it for shit.
Do you
And
think do you think AI will change the way justice is served over the next 20 years?
look, it's going to do great things. I mean,
Yeah.
I think it does great things now, but with great things comes the way to, you can use it for horrible things.
Mm.
I think that's pretty much with everything. If you just want to tweak it a little bit, it can be bad. It can be bad. And it's like, again, it's all about money. Those people have no conscience and they don't give a shit about anybody else. And all I want to do is think this is a monopoly game. How much money can I get in my bank, or how much power can I yield in the world? We know these people already, right? They don't care about, they'll stomp on people's heads to get ahead. And they're going to use this for bad ways. Yeah. I mean,
You have any?
you and I see roses, right? Like, but and I'm sad that I'm turning this way, but I think I'm pretty good at seeing 5 steps down the road, and I don't like what I see. And I feel
Yeah,
really bad for my grandkids who aren't even born yet.
yeah. We'll come back to that in a minute. I mean, so just staying on the legal system, if you could redesign one part of the legal system from scratch, what would it be?
Well, it depends which system.
Okay.
US is different than the UK, and they each have their good points and the bad points of it. That's what we tried to do because the UK was 20 years behind. I tried to take the good from here and the good from there and make sure that the road we took that was bad, not on purpose. The UK hasn't gotten there. Don't take
Mm,
that road, take this road. Trust me, I've seen the future and it's not pretty if you do it wrong. I actually had dinner with one of the justices there one night about it, talking about it. But look, you always have the problem is it's not even like law is intertwined with politics. It just is.
mm,
Here we have the Chamber of Commerce that doesn't want you to be able to sue these companies because it's bad for business. But you're
mm.
killing people, dude. Like I don't know. I mean, I wish you had to pass a test to be normal. And then the only normal people, like middle of the road people, common sense people, can tell the difference between right and wrong, could be elected. But we don't. The people we hear are the fringes, right? The wackos on this side and the wackos on that side are leading the world, and that's the problem. And same with the judicial system, because the president here appoints the Supreme Court and a lot of the judges. So if he's whacked this way and he appoints all these judges that are thinking like him, you know, people's civil
Mm.
rights are going to get crushed. And
I guess that's the thing, isn't it? Like the legal system reflects the society,
100%,
um, and then reinforces society.
100%, 100%. Yeah. People never even thought about if I said something bad about a president, I could get arrested, like thrown in jail because he's a paranoid schizophrenic who just wants to go after his enemies, and instead of thinking about how to like greenhouse gases and shit, like he doesn't even know what that word means, you know?
Yeah. Do you
So,
think do you think future generations will look back at today's legal system the way we look back at the legal system 200 years ago?
no, because, well, again, country by country, 200 years ago, we're talking Ben Franklin here.
Yeah,
We,
yeah.
it was the infancy of the legal system. That's why it's easier to change here. When things have been, entrenched for 2,000 years, it's a lot harder to change it than if it's 200, right?
Mm,
So the UK it's much more difficult to make change, just is. And more US lawyers are coming over, and it's good and bad because we're giving more people access to justice, but the system can't handle it. There's not enough
yeah,
judges,
yeah.
we lost Mariana in the first instance because the judge said, I don't know what to do with this. These are too many people. I can't handle this case. You're dismissed. I'm like, I never heard of that rule of law or that case, Judge. I can't, it's too much for me. That's these people should just, suffer and the defendant wins now. So, I don't know, it depends on the country. But you
'Cause
need,
I
look,
guess that's where I'm getting
it's
to.
being abused by the plaintiffs' lawyers too. They're filing cases that shouldn't be filed in court because with these, especially we call them mass torts, you have JLOs in London and you're suing these major companies, and a lot of lawyers are filing frivolous suits because there's 100,000 of them, and you're hoping that you can slide, a couple, 1,000 in that nobody's going to realize, and I can make, $5 million. Like there are people who do that, so it's not just the other side that's the bad guys. I mean, there are bad guys, good guys and bad guys on both sides of the
Yeah.
aisle, which is
I
why.
guess like my question was really around like, my experience of like the UK legal system was it's completely and utterly overloaded. So, I've had experiences where police have put things into the Crown Prosecution Service and they just haven't got time to deal with it, so they just write it off. And like just cases queued up for years and years because the judge doesn't have time. And
That's
it
the
makes
same
it
thing,
made me
likewise,
think,
we talked before. It's they need to talk to judges from other countries like the US who have handled stuff like this, or police chiefs from other countries who have handled and learn, not try to do it on your own and be so cocky that I don't need their help, I can do it. I'll figure this out. Uh,
mm.
because
But also with the technology, like, in the UK, I still hear of like people filing big paper files,
yeah,
not being allowed to upload it onto portals and things. And
it's
like,
crazy.
surely AI can just like take all this information and collapse it and just go, "Hey, judge, this is what I think. Next," you know?
I got walked into the first trial. It was Volkswagen Dieselgate. That was the first case I saw tried there. And I'm watching all these young associates just with dollies bringing in box after box of paper. And I'm like, what is that? We
Yeah,
bring our
what's going on?
computer. What the hell are you guys doing? Like, it's a lot of trees you're wasting there. And
Yeah.
yeah, in the States here, we don't do that at all. We bring our computer. We've already given the court the documents we're going to use at trial. And there's a guy sitting up front who is in charge of, you know, clerk, can you bring up document number 58? And he'll bring it up on the screen and jury can see it. We don't have juries as much as we do, but they can see it well. And everybody in the court can see the document and you question on it. But yeah, yeah, it takes so much longer to do things uh, the way they do it in the UK. But like
Yeah.
again, every country is different. Like the way they do the trial, like this, we call discovery, we call disclosure. Like we can go wild. We can pretty much do whatever we want. Take the deposition of every corporate rep, and it's good because we get at the truth ultimately. In the Netherlands, you can't do anything. You got to walk into court the first day and have your case ready. And I don't know how you do that because most of the stuff is hidden. You get it by questioning the people upstairs and looking at documents. And then
Mm.
the UK is in the middle somewhere of that. Um, but I think they think ours is too abusive and UK's and Netherlands is too restrictive. So there's
In
if
fact,
it,
there's a lot of room for improvement.
I just need people need to sit down and talk about it and like work on it and fix the problem, but
Yeah.
they don't have time because they're overloaded with
Yeah.
cases. Like it's craziness.
I want to move on to like personal things. So you've achieved things that many people spend their lives pursuing. What does success mean to you today? And has your definition of success changed over time, do you think?
Yeah, yeah. I think when you're young, when with a family, you're focused on the family and you have to make enough money to support your family. And then when you're lucky enough to, the birds have flown the coop and they've graduated, and then you can turn your focus a little more to helping the world. So I'm involved in I don't know how many charities, and we started our own. And I didn't have time to do that. Like you're working your butt off at the law firm, you know, 6 days a week, 70 hours a week, and you have a 5-year-old running around the house, et cetera. So it's hard to, it's only so many hours in the day. But you always think, if you're always the same person, right? You wish you could do everything. And you can still do stuff. You can spend time on the weekend. I was like, we have a thing here, Big Brothers. It's for kids who don't have parents, and you take them for the weekend. You take them out to the baseball game or something, so that they get to at least be with an adult to get some advice, and they can talk to them and this and that. But as you get older, and that's when you should look. A lot of people are just gonna move to Miami and play golf every day. It's not what I like to play golf, but I get more happiness out of going down to Philly youth basketball down here where my buddy started, and he built a I don't know 30,000 40,000 square foot center for kids in Philadelphia who had nowhere to go and get them off the street. And it's just a way to get them inside the building. Then once you get them in the building, they play basketball and we run that. But then we have classrooms where we teach them, skills. They don't know how to write a check or pay a bill or, do any of that stuff. So we try to teach them life skills there also and stuff like that. And their parents, and then we have a whole behind us a whole job training center for their parents to come in. So that yeah, when you get older, at least for me, it's just helping out. Like I haven't like the money is what it is now. It's like give back, you know.
I feel like it took me a long time to realize that. And actually, from doing some mentoring and coaching, I started to realize that what really fulfills people is contribution. So the more you contribute, the better you sort of feel all round. And
Hey,
it's
come on,
not
Michael. There's
really,
nothing better than a little kid coming up to you, who has nothing and hugging. Just
yeah,
give me, thank you for being here. Thank you
yeah.
for talking to me. Just thank you.
Why do you think people get success so wrong? Because like I've lived in big cities, New York, London, Dubai, and people are obsessed with like hustle and making money and hitting some magic number that when they hit it, it doesn't really matter. Like why do you think people get like that?
I don't know if it's because their friends are like that and they want to keep up with it's a freaking game, they think. That's also how you're raised at home and what your parents taught you. Like if your parents are givers and
Mm,
charitable givers, you probably will be. If your dad just worked, 60 hours a week until he died, you're probably going to follow that way too. Um, it's different culture, different cultures have just different, work means different things in different cultures. Some think which I like is spend more, family is more important than work, and the other ones think work is more important than anything because you have to
yeah.
support your great grandmother who can't work, whatever it may be. Which I don't disagree, but you have to balance. It's just a balance, man.
Mm,
You can feel it in your head. There's an internal scale, right? When you're working too much or not enjoying your help with this. Yeah, I was off a little bit when I was in London there. I was working before that, my scale was perfect. I was like good. So I could take that drunk driving test and walk right down the middle of the line.
yeah.
But I don't know, I started working a little too much and I got out of kilter and then it affects everything. It affects you because you get miserable, right? You get nasty. You just, you know, you get short because you're just tired and things happen. Then you got to get back center. But you have to
Yeah, yeah.
realize why. You got to realize why your things are happening in your life. A lot of people don't realize why the cause of their not being happy and things.
Mm,
So talking to somebody from the outside is always good too, because when you're in your head too much, you don't know, like you can't see it.
mm.
So yeah, but knock on wood, I think I'm back to center. I got 5 goats now and 8 dogs, and and we're
I'm gonna
helping
ask you about
people.
I'm gonna ask you about that in a minute.
Yeah,
Um, you've spoken openly about losing your father when you were
yeah,
young and how that changed the course of your life.
yeah,
Looking back now, how do you think those experiences shaped you as a person and the person you've become and the work you've chosen to dedicate your life to?
yeah. Well, you always think about what it would have been like if you did this or that, if you were raised up. It's a horrible thing, but maybe it was for the best because I have great kids and the rest of the life. I might have been a real asshole. Otherwise, who knows? I wouldn't have I wouldn't have met my first, the wife of my children, and I might not have Zach and Jessica. So you give up something to get something, I guess. I don't know. Um, but it definitely made me empathetic towards others because I know what it feels to feel the shittiest you can feel. So you don't want
Yeah.
others to. I definitely take on others' pain. It's almost like, did you ever see the Green Mile, the movie, where the
Mm.
guy sucks the injury out of the other people and they feel fine? That's what I feel like. Yeah. I hate seeing people sad because it make, so you do it, but you can't help them because like, you know, you can't get it.
I think I've known you for about 8 years, and I really believe that you want to help people who are suffering, you know, and you don't always talk about the things you do. And when when you've opened up to me about these things, there's a lot. I know that you're doing a lot of things to help people who are suffering. And
Yeah.
do you think that's like part of the reason? Because those
100%.
experiences from childhood.
I don't want anybody to feel like that.
Yeah.
And if I can take it on for them, I don't think, it's not gonna, I have I have a lot of calluses. So it's
Yeah.
not gonna affect me as much as somebody who hasn't dealt with it before and like freaks out, doesn't know what to do and wants to, do something stupid like, that. They think
Mm.
they're just overwhelmed with everything and there's no way out, there's no other way out. But there, take a deep breath. you know, it gets better kind of thing. And then
Yeah.
that's why the antidepressant thing, I was big into that I just fell into it because, you know, like mental health is like horrible. So if we can help somebody who is, suffering from that, we help. Like some 16-year-old girl just called me because she's on Instagram and she had a horrible doctor put her on antidepressants when she was little. And then she tried to come off and she was hospitalized forever. And she started a
Wow.
movement to get the word out about these things. And she heard about me somehow and we reached out. We've been messaging and try to help her get the word out, like on that stuff. But yeah, look, I'll take the bullets. I don't have too many more like spaces to hit.
I
So
think it's really good. I think it's really good that you've been raising awareness about these things as well. I mean, when we were in Bali recently and we met a guy who has set up a men's circle and there's about 800 people in it. And he set it up because he hit a really bad time in his life and he felt like he had nobody to talk to.
yeah.
And it's surprising how many men actually who feel really, really low in their life and they feel like they have nobody to talk to.
And they feel
So just
but,
bring awareness to that.
yeah, but they don't realize don't do something stupid because
Yeah.
you'll be away, but you're affecting 20 other people you're ruining their lives. Now, look, some
Mm.
people have mental illness. It's just so bad they can't help it. But you got to get help. Like you got to give it a shot. You can't just
Yeah.
give up. Say it's like, if you're giving it 10 shots and you can't take it anymore, I'm not saying it's ever right, but you know, you got to realize how it affects everyone around you because, yeah, it's not good.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's
What would
probably
you
I would
say
be a
to,
totally different person otherwise. Like, who knows what I'd be like? I could be a real asshole.
yeah. It's funny, isn't it? I mean, I remember I went to Tony Robbins events and he was talking about the same thing that he had problems when he was growing up with his family and but that made him so determined to help other people, you know. And there was a moment where um they had no money, the family, and someone turned up with a Thanksgiving dinner and his dad was so proud. He's like, no, go away, like I don't want your dinner. But it made him realize like there's people out there who do care, you know? And since then he's on a mission to feed billions of people, you know,
Yeah,
because he realized not everybody has nice meals, you know.
and it makes him feel like it fulfills him too.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
He sees like, all right, man, this kid who didn't have a meal now is smiling. I helped somebody feel it's a good feeling. It's just a good
Yeah.
feeling.
Yeah, and it's a good thing to do as well.
Yeah.
S-
So it's a win-win. It's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
You do something good, help somebody else, and you feel good. The hell, man.
Yeah.
What a twist.
And I think as you grow older, you realize success isn't necessarily about money or what you own or, you know, it is that contribution. And what I wanted to come on to next was, you know, when I talk to you, family, nature, animals, legacy seem really important to you.
Yes.
And you've obviously invested in creating a great family, you've built schools in Africa, you've supported communities all around the world from Philadelphia, like you were saying about the basketball teams. You've created a life that includes animals. I know you've got a farm recently, which looks amazing, and create this nature and space away from the business. How do these things influence the way you think about the future, do you think?
I'm not sure how the future is, but I know the present. Like they don't talk back. They never heard, right? They don't talk back. They don't, the dogs misbehave sometimes. But like the goats, like I sit on the bench outside and we raised one from 3 days old. I like bottle fed it and he slept in the bed in the cage. And I'll sit outside, I'll just come out and he was raised with the dogs. So he comes on the bench, he sits on my lap and he paws me like a dog, but to pet him. Um, yeah, they're just never miserable, they're just never, you know. It's relaxing and
Mm.
you're taking care of them. They rely on you solely to take care of them. And it's the greatest time walking out there. They all run to you and they all they jump on you. And it's everybody wants to be loved, right? You want to feel you know, it's just the same thing. It's good. It's just good. Yeah, I love animals. So yeah, we're looking at a couple other things here. But my dad was a vet, he too. When I was young, he was a veterinarian before. So I grew up with animals. So yeah, we just got 4 chicks. So we're gonna start the chicken coop's coming. I'm gonna put together this weekend, and I'll send you some eggs, buddy.
Nice. There's something really profound about connecting with nature. Like where I live at the moment in Dubai, and there's limited nature. And when we went to, like, if you've ever been to Indonesia or Bali, like, it's just nature paradise. There's so much nature, and it just felt so nourishing, I think is the word.
Taking a shower, it cleans your soul, right? It just
It cleans your soul, yeah. I think as humans, we need that connection with nature.
hell yeah. Yeah. That's the other problem with this whole, going full circle with these computers. And like when we were kids, man, I came home from school, I got on my bike, I went to the woods with my buddies. We would sit there and throw rocks and just whatever, be in the woods and
Mm,
play sports outside. Now, like kids come home from school and they get on the computer, and I don't think they breathe the outside air until the next morning. And
mm,
I feel bad. 'Cause that my favorite, the best memories you have as a kid are riding the bike and hanging with your friends outside. And I don't see a kid. It's the craziest shit. I drive down the street. You'd always see somebody shooting baskets in the driveway or playing football in the yard. I don't ever see it because they're home on the sofa, freaking getting carpal tunnel. It's horrible. It's really
mm.
horrible. Yeah,
You
but
know, like I totally agree with you. And having children myself, I find it super important to get them out into nature and doing things and activities. And I wish I could do more of that. And, thinking about the future, like if we're going to create a better future for our children, what do you think is really important? Because I would hate to see a world where we're just VR headsets and never leaving this virtual world. I love nature and being connected with it.
look, your kids follow you, like, right? If you're that, my kids love it outside too, and they love the animals because they know I do. So I brought them up like that, right? And I'll pass that on. But if you're a parent who kind of works till 10 at night, you don't even see the kids, they're going to do their own thing. I think you have your kids, unless you're a total jerk, they love you and they want to emulate you and they want to be proud of you. And so if you're doing the right thing, they're going to, you know, I take Zach to 10 Springsteen shows already, like, and he loves the outdoors. We go fishing together. Like, it's the greatest thing when you can take your son and daughter out. Like, Jessica and I went on a trip together last year. It was the father-daughter trip out to to nature, and yeah, we love it because all you do is talk. Because then you don't have anything else but just talk. You talk, and get find out what they're really thinking. Because you can call them up on the phone and say, "Hey, well, how was your day?" But that's only so much.
It's like, let me do a little mental exercise with you. So imagine you've gone forward to 2088 and humanity's solved a lot of these challenges that we face today. We've realized tech's gone a bit crazy. We've reconnected with nature more. Like we've got good lives. Our lives are fulfilling and nurturing. What do you think we finally figured out at that point to get there?
Hopefully, I don't have to be a jerk to get ahead. Um, that you can actually be a good person, help others, and still do very well in life and be happy. Instead of I have to step on everybody's face in order to climb to the top of the mountain and say whatever was in your head. Sometimes you need to stop and think before you speak. Um, I think you just need to care about other people, man. There's just too many people who hate it for no reason. It's just, I
Yeah.
think they take out their own misgivings on other and they blame it on others, and that's what happens because they can't get what they want, so they need to blame somebody else because they're not where they want to be in life. So they have to, it's his fault. Maybe it's yours. Maybe you just need to like let's talk about it, and you can get there. Just blaming others or wanting to kill somebody or calling them names. It's not going to help anything other than get you more pissed off.
Mm.
And then we have the world we're in today. We have people just, religions versus religions and all that, the nonsense that's going on. It makes me nauseous. Like, we're all skin and bones and blood, dude. Like,
Yeah.
I don't care where the fuck you were born. I don't care the color of your skin. Like, are you fucking crazy that you think, because you're that religion or that color, like, you're bad? Like, give me a break. It's nonsensical. But maybe there are just too many people whose IQ is on the lower end of the scale. They just can't, there's no concept of 1 plus 1 is 2, just it's 1 plus 1 is, I don't know.
Mm.
Somebody told me on the internet that it's 6, so it's 6. That's the other problem, dude, by the way, the internet. People
Mm.
just believe all the bullshit they read. I read it
Yeah.
on, I read it on here, so it's true. Therefore, it's true.
Yeah.
I don't know how
And
you
it's
solve
awareness,
that
isn't
problem.
it? It's awareness because, like, like when you
That's what's
peel
true.
back,
Nobody knows what awareness is. What's awareness? I don't know. Like, I don't even know what's true when I read. I read CNN or whatever I read on.
is
Read it all, and I don't know what the hell is true, what's not true.
oh, and most of it, well, I worked in media, and I used to have the best conversations with my mother before she passed away because she read the newspaper and she believed it. And I would say to her, I can pick up a phone and I can put a story in the newspaper and it doesn't have to be true. I just have to pay for it. And, so you've got to like always be aware of what's
Yeah, but
real,
anybody now can
what,
write something on the internet. Anybody
yeah,
can write and say they have a website. I could have a website tomorrow and say whatever I want, and thousands of people will believe me.
yeah. I think a key to, for me, one of the keys to the future is like just more respect, like more appreciation and more respect.
But it's all
Like,
connected. What we just talked about. It's all
yeah,
connected.
yeah, and more respect for each other as people, more respect for the planet, more respect for nature. If we did that, we'd make different decisions, I think.
You need to. I'm telling you, we just need to take the believers to a different planet and start again because there's just too much headbutting between nonsensical people. I don't know if you're ever getting there, dude. Not just maybe I'm cynical now that I'm older, but I don't know how you turn some of these people. Just you'll never change their minds.
Mm. What role do you think like each of us, because there's a lot of young people listening to this, there's a lot of young people in our community, and they are hopeful and excited and they might be able to make a difference. And what role do you think each of us can play in helping create a better future?
Yeah, you can do what you can do, right? So
Mm,
if everybody does a little bit, we can make it better. It's not going to be ever perfect, just as it's
mm,
not going to be. So, but if you can get one or two more that weren't on your side to make it who believe now that, if I don't throw this piece of trash on the ground, I'm not going to be polluting. Like, you've done something. So it
mm,
just kind of has to be a viral thing. And yes, you need people at the top with charisma who people will believe and follow and lead who are good people.
mm,
Uh, People at the top who follow people will follow lead because they spew hatred. And I'm an angry person, so now I can get it out and say whatever I want because he says whatever he wants and he's the leader. Like,
mm,
before people used to keep it in because you should. Like, you shouldn't say everything that you think because tomorrow you may not think the same thing. You're just in the mood, you
mm.
know, and it's not your true self. So, yeah, I think, it's baby steps, brother.
Yeah.
I'm s- I hate to think about it too much because it kind of bums me out.
Well, you're making a good difference. You've made a very
Yeah,
good
look, you can only do what you can do, right? We say we can change the world. We can change it in our little world. Like if you can make 10 people's lives better, you've done the job, right? So,
It's interesting. I was at the COP 28, which is like the climate change conference, and one of the speakers is called the Green Shake, and one of the podcasts is with him actually, and he got up on stage and his speech was all about he said like I could talk about the world and all these big things that need to change. He said, but I'm going to say you start at home.
yeah, exactly right.
Yeah. He said, is your environment, are you looking after your environment well? Are you looking after your family well? Because if you don't do that, how can you look after the world, you know?
A little
And
bit. You
and it
won't
is
get you won't get anything done.
it's the small things, if we all did like a few little things differently, the world can change.
Yeah, it's never going to be perfect.
Yeah, it's never
So
gonna be perfect.
never going to be perfect. So you do the best you can. If you can change a couple people's lives and help the planet a little bit, you've done your job. There's billions of people, so it's a lot of little billions of changes is a lot, right?
Exactly, yeah. So
So
before we go, what's the question I should have asked you today that I didn't?
nothing, Michael. Nothing. I don't think anything. I think it was. I really enjoyed the talk, as I always do with you.
Yeah, so did I.
Sometimes, it gets. I think we frustrate each other because there's no there's no answer to a lot of these
Yeah,
questions. It's not black and white. Like,
yeah,
how do you fix this? You can't. I mean, you can make it better. Like, right? It's like a car that's dead, right? I can't make it back to the day one, but I can get it running maybe. But it's not going to be shiny and sparkling new, but I can get it to run. So that's what I'm trying to do, get it to run. And then somebody else is the painter and he puts the paint on it and the other guy fixes the wheels and we all do it together and maybe something happens.
yeah. And that's it. That's why I think community is really important, and I think that's why it's great to like share our experience and expertise as well. Because, like I said, like a lot of leaders haven't been on that journey like you have, and it's not an easy journey, is it? Like there's a lot of challenges on those kind of journeys,
Always
but
people
you can't
trying to,
do them.
yeah, there's always people trying to get in your way. So now you
Mm,
just got to keep going, man. You get up and you brush yourself off and you keep going and you're out working.
mm.
Thank them. And yeah, they get tired of being jerks after a while and doing bad things. They'll move on. If I'm too much of a pain in the ass for them, they'll move over to the next guy. Like,
One of the thing that I noticed before I finish, one of the thing I noticed about you since I've known you is you just get things done. So when people say, "Oh, that's impossible," you just seem to do it. And how do you think
impossible.
you do that?
Nothing is impossible. Just
Do
do
you
it.
do you believe that? Do you believe nothing's
100%.
impossible?
100%.
Yeah.
Not everything, but I can't fly to the moon on my arms. But yeah, um, totally do. I tell everybody who's bummed out about something, like, just hang in there. It'll turn. It will turn. As long as you stay positive. Like, if you get negative and get down and put your head in the ground and don't get out of bed, it's bad. But
Yeah.
I mean, I've had it myself. Like, and everybody laughs. Like, how do you do that? Like, how do you not like lose your shit? I'm like,
Yeah.
because it'll work itself out. You just got there's always an answer, man. You just got it might not be the A plus answer, but if I get the B answer, sometimes it's all right. Just accept it and move on to the next issue.
Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't get straight A's in school, brother, but I learned a lot.
That's a really great lesson, actually. That's a really great lesson because I think that often, people think there's some magic key to like success, but it's a lot of it's just perseverance and persistence and not giving up.
And I think if you're a good person, good people will surround you
Yeah.
and they'll lift you up
Yeah,
too.
that's
So
fantastic.
yeah.
Well, thanks so much for all you've done for so many people around
Oh,
the
my
world.
pleasure. I still have hopefully a lot longer on this planet, do a little more. I have a buddy of
Yeah,
mine in Africa now who's is an artist. He did. I don't know if you can see this
I
picture.
did see it. Yeah, yeah.
Hold on. Yeah, he's a great artist, and his daughter's she's in Africa, and there was a school there, like in Ghana, the one we did, and they wanted to start an art program, so he went over, but he asked if they needed financial support. So the foundation, I sent them money. He's there now, and they're doing murals on the wall, and the kids are smiling, and it's a beautiful thing. So I'm like, cool, cool. Like
What's
stuff like that, the music, that. Like, I can sit at the piano all day and shut the door and
yeah,
focus. That focuses me. So, if you ever like when I'm ever bummed or something, all right, Karen, I need 15 minutes. Like, I can't talk to anybody. Like, I just need to sit here and just play, and then get up and you're a new guy. You gotta have outlets, right? You gotta take out the negative energy somewhere that's not negative.
yeah. No, I
So,
do the same.
that's a guitar, my man. I'm gonna be my own band soon.
I play guitar, so I might join your band. So And I do that. Like in the afternoon, I'll play 15 minutes of guitar and it just like it's like a meditation.
That's great. Yeah. Same me. All
So
right.
what's next for you, Harris?
Now I'm doing, just a little bit of the law still going on, and now I'm trying to help other law firms and people who need money to do something good to raise the money for them. So that's what I'm doing. When I came back to the States after, the Pogust Goodhead in London, I left there to restart here, heavy, heavy. I thought I could do more good doing what I'm doing. Because cases here take 7, 8 years to get paid and start and go through them. And I'll be a little bit older. There's another thing I can do right away, which I have, which has been great. And it's funny because all my old London connects and, you know, Amsterdam are all calling me and we're doing good. We're helping a lot of people.
It's amazing. Well,
Mm.
thanks so much for the time today.
My
You're
pleasure, buddy. I'm always
you're
here for you.
you're a real inspiration, and you've given us a lot of hope in terms of like we can build businesses that do positive impact in the world,
Yeah.
and we can be successful in doing that. So I really appreciate that.